Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be giving you my Netflix recommendations whilst applying some makeup. So I've kind of spoken about doing a video where I talk about my Netflix recommendations. For me, you know, watching movies and series is just something that me and Jake love to do as a couple. We're not massive going out and eating dinner, you know, we don't really go on like date nights as such. For us to connect as a couple, or something we really love to do in the evenings and to just wind down after a long day's work, is we'll have dinner and then we will watch a series, a film, we'll play video games. So I kind of wanted to make this a series perhaps, if you guys enjoy it, of my Netflix recommendations, Disney Plus recommendations, Amazon Prime recommendations, and kind of just going through all of those things of things I have watched, things I would recommend to someone newly downloading the service, or someone who's just wanting a little bit of inspiration, you know. Of course, these are just my recommendations, they're not the be all and end all. You might like a completely different genre of film, series, viewing than I do. I feel like I have quite an eclectic taste. I really like a bit of everything, and so I feel like my recommendations are going to give you a bit of everything. I do actually have far too many to do one video on today, so I'm going to just do like the top 10, and my top 10 today are going to be if you have just downloaded Netflix. This isn't sponsored, by the way, but Netflix, holler at me if you do. But yeah, if you've just downloaded Netflix, then I want to be able to give you like 10 things that is just add this to your watch later list, make it the first couple of things as my recommendations that I'm like, oh, you have to watch that, you know? So yeah, we're gonna go through those 10 things today. I wanna do my makeup, and if you enjoy this video, I have got so many more. I've got a whole list of just what's on my watch later list that I would love to hear if you guys have seen it or you recommend it too. And then I have literally a whole subsection for documentaries and films, just documentaries and films, and then a whole other subsection of just series. There's a lot. Okay, there's a lot. So yeah, of course, if that sounds good to you, then just keep watching. Okay, I'm zooming you in. I'm going to be detailing all of the makeup that I'm putting on my face down in the description bar below, so do not fear if you like want to know what something is on my face that I'm applying and I'm like, don't reference it. It's all going to be in the description bar down below. So within these 10 recommendations, these are no way in any order, by the way. Like, just because something's being mentioned first does not mean I like it more than the 10th thing being mentioned. But the first 3 things I want to mention aren't actually Netflix originals, and I think the rest are. Yeah, the rest are. I have actually checked all this. But the first 3 that I'm about to mention aren't Netflix originals, but I truly believe if you would like to see something and you're not really a series watcher and you don't really know where to start, if you want something really meaty and something that has a cult following, then I think these 3 are a really good place to start. So the first thing that I'm going to mention is Peaky Blinders. The finale happened and it's the end, but you can catch all the other seasons on Netflix. I can imagine now that the last season has been aired on TV that it will also go onto Netflix. So I can imagine that is what would happen. I'd be surprised if it didn't, but you can catch all the other 5 seasons on Netflix of Peaky Blinders. It's a really, really great drama. I actually only started watching Peaky Blinders this year because obviously the season finale was coming out and Jake was like, oh, do you want to watch that with me? And I was like, don't break up with me, but I haven't watched it all the 5 seasons. When I tell you I binged 5 seasons in approximately 2 to 3 weeks, quite shameful. But equally I'm quite proud and quite impressed with myself. So just looking at the words and how it's described by Netflix, Peaky Blinders is a violent period piece drama. It's got 5 seasons on there at the moment, like I said. It's an 18 and it's about a notorious gang in 1919 Birmingham, England, and it's led by the fierce Tommy Shelby, a crime boss set on moving up in the world no matter the cost. It's got, okay, I'm sorry if I butcher his name, I think it's Cillian Murphy, not Cillian Murphy. I think it's Cillian Murphy, Sam Neill, Helen McElroy. It is rated an 18. The 5 seasons are on there, like I said. Honestly, I have always thought that Peaky Blinders like wasn't going to be for me. Like, I'm not really, I don't mind an action film, but I'm not really like, oh yeah, crime boss. Oh, like I'm just, yeah, whatever. Like, I feel like it's a little bit cookie cutter, same thing, you know, same story, same blah blah blah. I get it. So I've never really been appealed by it, but when I tell you that Peaky Blinders was so like captivating, I think the script writing is really interesting, and I'd say it is quite different when you sort of look at like that sort of crime boss style of drama. I think also the fact that it's a period piece also lends itself to be a bit more interesting. I think if this was a modern piece, I don't know how interested I'd actually be by it. So I really like Peaky Blinders, and I think if you haven't watched it yet, then you'd really enjoy it. No matter your age, no matter your gender, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's a really, I was gonna say a family piece, but it's not a family piece. Please don't let your children watch it. It's a lot of swearing and a lot of killing, but it's not like gory by any means. It's just like, ooh, gets the heart going, you know? So yeah, it's really good. I really like it. The second one on my list, like I said, the first three aren't actually Netflix originals, but it is The Office, the American Office. I don't think the UK Office is on Netflix. I've been looking and I don't think it is. It says that it's witty, irreverent, and it's a sitcom. I don't actually know what irreverent means. There are 9 seasons of The Office. Again, it's something that I never watched to begin with, and then I suddenly binged it during lockdown. The first lockdown, second lockdown, I think it was, God knows how many lockdowns we had, but it was in lockdown, and Jake and I binged it, and it was great. It was great. It says this hit comedy chronicles the foibles. Oh my God, there's a lot of words in here that I don't think I've ever seen before. Every day's a school day. The hit comedy chronicles the foibles of disgruntled office workers led by deluded boss Michael Scott at the Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. Honestly, like, it is just really great. Some of these episodes are only like 20 to 30 minutes long, and then like you get the very end of the season, which is like 30 to 40 minutes long sometimes. So they're really easy to watch, really bingeable. We watched them during dinner. They're really funny. There's a couple of episodes that really stick with you. I am blending this red to the hairline. To the hairline. It's a really great comedy. I would call it a comedy, or well, I suppose it's a sitcom, yeah. But it is so funny, and yeah, really great. Both Jake and I absolutely loved it. I think it is one of those things where, I mean, I am a bloody nightmare for it, and Jake will tell me off. He'll be like, are you even watching this? In that voice, are you even watching this? That's how I hear it. But I'm the sort of person that does like 2 things at once sometimes, especially when I'm watching something that's like a sitcom. I don't usually just sit and watch it. I like to be sitting editing, or editing just like a thumbnail, like listening, and every now and again looking up at it. And I feel like sometimes if I'm going to be binging something that's like 9 seasons long, I don't want to have to give it every single ounce of my attention. I want to be able to give it 75% of my attention and still understand what's going on. And for me, The Office did that, and there definitely is really good character development in the show. I have actually watched the UK Office, and I do prefer the US Office. I'm sorry to say, I do prefer the US Office. However, I find the UK Office more relatable. So as someone who works in an office in the UK, I do find that the word David Brent gets thrown around by specific people all the time, and it just brings me a sense of joy. So obviously in the US, The Office, it's Michael Scott who's the boss. In the UK Office, it's David Brent, and I think the UK Office is more relatable in that David Brent sense. It's a really good show, and I'd highly recommend it if you haven't seen it before. I think you'd get hooked. The next one I'm gonna mention is Breaking Bad. If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, if you download Netflix and you haven't watched Breaking Bad, have you really owned Netflix? Like, I feel like Breaking Bad, I don't even know when it came out, a long time ago. A bloody long time ago. Breaking Bad, what is it summarised as? A violent, gritty and dark. That's the 3 words they use for it. It's got 5 seasons, and it says a terminally ill chemistry teacher teams with a former student to manufacture crystal meth to secure his family's future. I feel like to summarise that in a single line, they've done that very well, but my goodness, I just feel like it's more than that. Like, honestly, Breaking Bad, my mum loved it. My mum doesn't really normally like the violent drug gang thing, and it's not that. It's not like violent drug gangs. It's just amazing. Breaking Bad, if you have not seen it, I promise you, it is a bucket list thing. It is rated an 18. By the way, The Office I think was rated a 12. Let me just have a quick check. I didn't actually say, yeah, The Office was rated a 12. If that matters to you. But yeah, Breaking Bad is definitely an 18. I was about to look for the mirror in this palette and there isn't one, so that's really great. Breaking Bad is honestly phenomenal. I think it's won quite a few awards. It's really great. It's got Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul in it, and both of them together are just amazing. They really really are a credit to that show. They're amazing. The acting is honestly so great. Okay, so now we kind of get into the realms of Netflix originals, things that you cannot get anywhere else other than Netflix, because they have directed them or they own the rights to them. They basically have funded for them or have had a small part in the funding. So you will not be able to get any of these that I'm about to mention anywhere else but Netflix. So the first one I'm going to say is Orange is the New Black. So this program is described as deadpan, witty and irreverent. My goodness, Netflix really love that word, irreverent. Irreverent. I don't like it. I don't know what it means. So it says, sentenced to 15 months for crime committed in her youth, Piper Chapman leaves her supportive fiance Larry for her new home, a woman's prison. Obviously, when I do these descriptors, they are just like the description for the first episode to reel you in. Netflix has like a description of every single episode. So like the second one is, after insulting the food in front of the prison chef, Piper is starved out by the kitchen staff and struggles to offer up an acceptable apology, blah blah blah. And like that's the same for all of them. So I'm just reading out the first episode, like monologue almost. So Orange is the New Black has 7 seasons. It's an 18. Is it like gory? No. I'd say they just talk about some like topical issues, race and sexuality especially, and there's like a lot of swearing in it as well. So I will just say that I haven't actually watched the last 3 seasons of Orange is the New Black. There's a couple of reasons why. I feel like I really binged Orange is the New Black to begin with. So, you know, I couldn't wait for the latest season. I was really on the hype train for it. And I think as more seasons and more seasons came along, other more interesting things were coming on the scene, and I just was like, oh, it doesn't compare. I feel like Breaking Bad for me took over. I started watching Breaking Bad more and I got more hyped over that, and then other things came into you know what I mean, like it got overtaken by events. However, I do think Orange is the New Black is very good. I couldn't tell you how good the other seasons are because I haven't actually watched them. It did make me lose interest halfway through a little bit. But I would still recommend it because you might still really enjoy it. And I do think it's one of those things where when you have a lot of seasons in anything, there will be this pitfall where you're like, oh god, these episodes are really boring. It happens in Breaking Bad quite often because there's so many seasons and therefore so many episodes. There'd be a couple of episodes where I was like, what was the point in that, you know? I do feel like Orange is the New Black just had kind of too many of those for me at one point, but you know, we are talking like 5 years ago when I watched that, so maybe I would feel completely different about it, but it did stick with me. I think it was a really good show, and actually it is one of those things where I'd be like, oh, Netflix, Orange is the New Black. It'd be like one of those, it's just Netflix to me. What are those quick recommendations to someone who's never had Netflix before, you know? Okay, my next recommendation, I'm actually excited to talk about this next recommendation. The next one is Stranger Things. OMG. I just bloody love Stranger Things. Anyone I recommend it to really loves it. It's described as ominous, scary and exciting. It's rated 15. It's got 3 seasons. Season 4 is coming out soon, actually, very soon, and I'm very excited about it. So far there's obviously only 3 seasons. The first episode is described, on his way home from a friend's house, young Will sees something terrifying. Nearby, a sinister secret lurks in the depths of a government lab. Honestly, this is just so great. Stranger Things I think is based in the 80s. Is it the 70s or 80s? No, it's the 80s. And it's really good. It's about some young friends. It does remind me a little bit of The Goonies. It reminds me a little bit of It, the first It, in terms of not as scary as It. I find it quite like, no, puts me on edge. But it's kind of like that friend mentality, all cycling around on bikes, that neighbourhood vibe, finding out a secret from the government, a bit sci-fi, like the genre is sci-fi, teen programs, horror programs, and I just think it's absolutely great. I really do enjoy it, and I think if you have just downloaded Netflix, you would absolutely love it too. My mum's watched it. I feel like when I say my mum's watched it, it's like, it says a lot because she's a busy lazy, and if she has time to binge all like the seasons of something, it's obviously gripped her attention quite well. Stranger Things is one of those where if Jake watched it without me, I'd be like, you cheated on me. The next one I want to mention, of course, would this even be a Netflix recommendations video if I didn't mention Bridgerton, okay? I bloody love Bridgerton. So Bridgerton is described as swoon-worthy, witty and emotional. It is rated a 15, and my goodness, I would definitely rate it 15. There was a lot of a lot of sexual things happening. It's described as the 8 close-knit siblings of the Bridgerton family look for love and happiness in London high society, inspired by Julia Quinn's best-selling novels. I honestly really do want to read the books. I feel like it's something that I'd really take pleasure out of, but at the moment, like, my reading backlog is just way too high. But one day I'm going to read all the books. I might actually wait for all 8 seasons to come out and then go back and read the books and kind of have that picture already in my mind, because I don't want to read faster than the Netflix series comes out, because I feel like I get disappointed. I don't know. It's like when you read Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter and then you watch the films and you're like, oh, they missed out this, and then you're like, oh. So I don't really want to do that. I feel like it looks like I've been punched in the eye. You just gotta trust the process. I'm telling you, trust the process and it'll come together in the end. I promise. So I've spoken a lot about Bridgerton on this channel. I actually have a video up about me talking about going to the Bridgerton, or the Lady Whistledown Bridgerton ball. I'll link that up in the eye if you want to go check that out. It's just like a chatty get rid of me like this, where I talk about the ball and just like Bridgerton as a whole. Bloody love Bridgerton. I don't want to spoil it for those that haven't seen it. It's something that I just basically binge in 2 days. There's 8 episodes in each season, I think. Yeah, something like that. And then they're each an hour long. So I literally am a nightmare. I'll just see it pop up one day and I'm like, right, okay, 2 days, the whole weekend, I'm going to just watch Bridgerton. I have done it in a day before, like the first season. I think I watched an entire day. I just dedicated a whole day and I just like watched it. The second season I did actually break between 2 days. Whoa. So I really, really love it. I have actually watched the first season of Bridgerton a couple of times and I might rewatch the second season again. But I'm kind of holding out for Stranger Things first. I want to watch that first. But yeah, Bridgerton's really, really good. I would honestly say, I don't mean this in a negative way, but I don't think men would enjoy it as much as women. And I say that just about the men in my life. Like, Jake is certainly not interested in Bridgerton. He wouldn't even really want to sit. Not that he wouldn't want to stay in the room as I watched it, but he would definitely put his headphones in and be doing something else if I was watching Bridgerton. Same with my brother, same with my cousins, my dad. I think all the men in my life would not be interested in Bridgerton, so therefore I'm surmising that men wouldn't enjoy it, or men wouldn't enjoy it as much as women, maybe would be the better thing to say. It's a very like romantic, like swoon-worthy is probably a really good way to describe it. It's a very romantic sort of Renaissance period piece. I really like it. I feel like there was a vision in my head for how this eye look was going to turn out, and this ain't it. This is not it. Whilst I try and fix this mess on my eyes, I want to talk about the next one, and that is Afterlife. Now, I know a lot of people do not like Ricky Gervais. If you don't like him, then fair enough. Don't watch it. Don't cause yourself pain. I will say that this is Ricky Gervais's one of his best pieces, because it's not a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's described as deadpan, witty and irreverent. They love that word. There's 3 seasons and that's it. There are just 3 seasons and it is really, really good. It says, struggling to come to terms with his wife's death, a writer for a newspaper adopts a gruff new persona in effort to push away those trying to help. Honestly, I feel like that does summarise it really, really well. Essentially, his wife died of cancer and he is just struggling. He doesn't want to live without her. He every day is miserable, and it's funny, but in a very relatable way sometimes. Like, we really loved it. Me and Jake binged the whole of Afterlife in what I think was an evening. Each episode is about 20 to 30 minutes and there are 6 episodes each, so it's about, what is that, 2 hours of watching, maybe 2.5 hours of watching. Jake and I literally binged the whole of season 3 in one evening. It's really, really good. It's just like a really hard-hitting program and I really, really love it. It's actually not centered around comedy, I would argue. There's a lot of dry humor in there, but no one's laughing. So like, the viewer's laughing, but the characters aren't laughing. It's not immature, it's not childish, it's just like, you just laugh because it's so ridiculous sometimes, in terms of, yeah, that happens in life and you can just laugh and relate to it. It's a really, really great piece of writing, and I think Ricky Gervais even said he didn't want to like, even though it was so successful, he didn't want to keep doing more and more seasons of it because he didn't want it to be something that carried out for too long. He wanted it to be hard-hitting and short. It is rated a 15. I'd say like the language and topics discussed probably what makes it a 15. You know, talk about deaths. There's some mentions of suicide in there, so if that's a trigger for you, then perhaps don't watch that. And there's also, you know, it's just the mental health struggles of a man that's lost his wife and someone that, you know, feels absolutely lost without her. It's very relatable in that sense. And I truly enjoyed it. I've just added a little bit of liner to my lower lash line and just like the tight line here. I'm actually going to just go away and finish the other eye. I don't know if we've saved it or not. We're going to go away, do the other eye, and then we'll try and clean up and sort something else out with the face. But I do fear that if I keep doing these eyes, then I'll actually just finish the video with just one eye done. So we've just got a couple that I want to talk about in today's video. This eyeshadow is absolutely bonkers bananas, but whatever. And it's Squid Game. Now, Squid Game is actually, I believe it's a Korean. Oh goodness, I hope I'm getting that right. I believe it's Korean. It's labelled as a suspenseful thriller drama. It's rated a 15, which does surprise me, to be honest, because it is quite graphic. It's got like quite a lot of death, let's just put it that way. It could be quite triggering for those who don't like that. It's described as hundreds of cash-strapped players accept a strange invitation to compete in children's games. Inside, a tempting prize awaits with deadly high stakes. I feel like Squid Game you would have probably heard about through social media. It is honestly really good. Both Jake and I actually did watch it in Korean with English subtitles. We didn't watch it with the English accent just because I think it's a bit more authentic. Obviously you do you. My dad watched it with the English like voiceover, and both me and Jake were like, "You uncultured swine." And a couple of Jake's friends watched it with like the English voiceover. But honestly, if you watch it with the Korean accent, or like, sorry, not accent, the Korean voiceover, if you watch it with like the Korean, like the actual actors speaking, like voiceover I suppose you could say, and use the English subtitles, I do feel like the show is a little bit more immersive. I think we're getting a season 2, I'm not too sure, like the ending kind of suggests we get a season 2, and it does say on Netflix season 1, which kind of says to me that they've got season 2 in the pipeline. I'm not sure, otherwise why would you call it season 1, you know? That's just my way of thinking. I don't think it's for everyone, to be honest. I think it's one of those shows that you either like it or you don't, and you'll pretty much get that vibe, I'd say 2 episodes in. I think you'd know by about 2, possibly 3 episodes if you want to commit to it. Squid Game for me was something that I, on paper, probably wouldn't be very interested in, but my goodness, it was really good. Okay, second to last one I want to mention is another girly one. Similar, like along the veins of Bridgerton. I feel like if you enjoy Bridgerton, you will enjoy Emily in Paris. Emily in Paris is with, oh, what's her name, Lily Collins in. I really like Lily Collins. This is described as a campy soap and it's quirky. It's rated a 15. There's 2 seasons so far. Season 2 came out this year, like what, February time? January time? I can't remember the years. I think it was February time actually. February, March time? I can't actually remember when season 2 came out, but I like binged it in like a day. It's described as after landing her dream job in Paris, Chicago marketing executive Emily Cooper embraces her adventurous new life whilst juggling work, friends and romance. It's very far-fetched. It's very far-fetched. So it's kind of like a very chick flicky thing, I'd say. I would probably say the average male probably wouldn't be that interested in it, and I probably wouldn't recommend it to my male friends or male counterparts. It's just not something I think is very masculine, and I am being very generic when I say that. It's, you know, it's about fashion, it's about social cliques, it's got some romance in there, it's got some gossip, it's just like very generic, girly, really fun, very easy to watch. Each episode is half an hour, actually less than half an hour, so it's very bingeable. Like I said, there's 2 seasons and every season has about 10 episodes, so there's like a decent amount to get into, but like I said, because they're only half an hour long, what's that, like 2 days of binging? 5 hours per season. So I really like Emily in Paris. I think it was a very feel good, no strings attached sort of thing to watch. Sometimes I just want a no strings attached series to watch. I don't feel like I have to overly pay attention. I can just be immersed in the fashion. The fashion on Emily in Paris is actually, it's just breathtaking. I want her wardrobe. I think every girl, well, most girls want her wardrobe. Like when you look at the costuming design and makeup and hair makeup, costume design, all for Emily in Paris, it's just breathtaking. It's just breathtaking. I've got to say, Emily in Paris does remind me of the likes of like Sex and the City, The Devil Wears Prada, that sort of thing. I'm trying to think of anything else that I can think of that's similar to it. A little bit like Ugly Betty, but not Ugly Betty. It's very much like that sort of thing. I would say it's closest to Sex and the City and The Devil Wears Prada. It's like The Devil Wears Prada becomes a season but with Lily Collins, you know? That's like the closest I'd relate to. If you enjoy that film, then I think you'd really enjoy Emily in Paris. And the last one I want to mention is You, as in the series, You. Okay, so I've got some thoughts on this one. I did want to recommend it because I think the first season is quite good. You is described as a slick, psychological and dark. It is rated 18 and it's got 3 seasons to it now. I'd have to say that the first season is probably the best. Second season it kind of dips a little bit, and third season for me I was just like not amused, and there has been a 4th season confirmed. So honestly I will watch the 4th season. I'm just not sure how good it's going to be. I didn't like season 3 that much, but you know, like everyone's opinions are different. Everyone can have different preferences, and my preference just was not season 3 of You. But I really did enjoy the first 2 seasons, and I would recommend the first 2 seasons. So I feel like it's one of those where I still want to recommend it to you as something to watch, because regardless of if you watch all of it or just some of it, it's good to watch, you know? Oh, I didn't even describe what it was. It says, a dangerously charming, intensely obsessive young man goes to extreme measures to insert himself into the lives of those he is transfixed by. Ooh, what a good description. I've got to say the downfall of You is that I think the story is slightly repetitive, and that's why I didn't enjoy season 3 as much, because I think it repeated season 1 and 2 a little bit too much. It was just a little bit dull for me. So those are the 10 things that I have watched on Netflix and that I'd recommend to you as like if you were going to sign up, then these are like the 10 things that I'd say this is going to kind of get your taste buds going. Some really like critically acclaimed, I don't know if I can say that, I don't know if they actually are critically acclaimed, but like things Megan acclaimed that I would say are worth watching, or like dipping your toe into different genres across the platform. So yeah, those are the 10 things that I would say are really, really good to start. I have, like I said, got so many more recommendations. Like I've got so many more. I'm looking at another 30 here. And then I have another 15 on my watch later list. I have got a lot more to talk about if you would like to watch another one of these. Let me know down below if you've got any suggestions for Netflix, if you have Netflix, if you have like streaming services, if you really enjoy watching stuff like that. I encourage the discussion down below. Let me know and tell me what your favourite thing is. Have you watched any of these things? What do you think of them? Do you really hate one of them? It's really interesting to see what different people's opinions are. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, thumbs this video up if you haven't enjoyed, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the bell because then you'll be notified of all the videos I upload. I upload every other day, 3 to 4 videos a week. So subscribe, like, and ring the bell to be notified of that. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.